Today we are going to a galaxy far, far away as we are going to rank all the live-action Star Wars movies of the Skywalker Saga from the worst to the best. Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Nick Push, talking Star Wars today. And as I get into my rankings here, do me a favor, join me in the comments right here below the video and tell me your ranking of the Star Wars movies. What's the worst? What's the best? What did I get right? What did I get wrong? And most importantly, what is your favorite Star Wars movie ever made? Enough talk. Let's get right into this. It goes without saying, this is my opinion. That's it. My opinion, but feel free to debate me in the comments because Star Wars is fun to talk about as long as we're not all being assholes. Coming in last place, number 9, is going to be The Empire Strike. I'm kidding. It's going to be The Phantom Menace. Look, after the success of the first 3 Star Wars films, big franchise on hand, a cultural phenomenon, back in, I believe it was 99. I stand to be corrected on that. The Phantom Menace came out, and oh boy, were people excited. This is pre-internet, or at least pre-social media, so hard to say exactly how crazy it was, but it was crazy with excitement. A lot of people's childhoods at that time were just filled with Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, and you had people wanting to take their kids, there's going to be a new Star Wars movie, and they came up with a movie about like interdimensional politics and trade wars. No. Now, there are some great things in this movie. Obviously, the Duel of the Fates and the fight between Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Darth Maul is one of the best lightsaber battles of all time. It's fucking fantastic. And like I said, that score by John Williams is amazing. But other than that, pod racing, young Anakin Skywalker, how they explain how he has such a connection to the Force, all of that doesn't really work. And it commits the cardinal sin of any movie. It's kind of fucking boring. So Phantom Menace comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8, probably the most controversial movie in the entire franchise, and that is The Last Jedi. Quite frankly, this movie sucks. Now, it does have its good things. It's very striking visually, but all Star Wars movies are like that. This one might be a little better as far as visuals than most, but I expect that from a Star Wars film. What I don't expect is subverting expectations just to subvert expectations. When Luke throws that lightsaber, when Luke has lost himself, yes, there's a backstory, but I didn't buy that backstory. They never got me to buy into it. And it's just unfortunate, because after this franchise got back on its track, Rian Johnson came in, and I love Rian Johnson. I'm a big Breaking Bad fan, and he's directed some of my favorite episodes in Breaking Bad, so I was excited. No. Sorry. This movie sucks, and all the hate it gets is justified. Like I said, there's a lot of good things about this movie, but at the end of the day, I didn't buy what happened to Luke, and it just felt like they were just subverting expectations, as I said, just for the way to subvert expectations, just to kind of throw the audience on its head, like, oh man, I didn't expect that. Yeah, because it was fucking stupid. That's why, because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. That's why. So The Last Jedi comes in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Attack of the Clones. Another one, a lot of good things. All these movies have a lot of good things, right? Attack of the Clones has some interesting shit with the clone soldiers and the Clone Wars, the beginning of that. Mace Windu getting a big role. Count Dooku getting a big role. A Jedi that turned to the Sith, before Vader. That's interesting stuff there. But where this movie fails is buying into the Anakin Padme love story. It's a broken record at this point to talk about George Lucas's dialogue, especially with Anakin and Padme. But it's some of the worst shit that's ever been put on film. It's that bad. I hate sand. God, terrible. You know, it's not as boring as The Phantom Menace, but it's just hard to watch the love scenes. And I feel like in order to buy into the story, buy into all of that, everything that's going on here, and why Anakin, as we eventually know, is going to turn to the dark side, you got to buy into this love story. And I'm sorry, George, you should have had someone else write this shit because it was fucking terrible. So Attack of the Clones is number 7. Coming in at number 6 is going to be The Rise of Skywalker. So J.J. Abrams had to come in and kind of clean up Rian Johnson's mess, and I think he did an admirable job. However, it felt like multiple movies trying to be forced into one movie. And that's not JJ's fault, but it just doesn't work. The pacing is not good, and there's a lot of things that Palpatine stuff, I didn't hate that. I didn't hate him coming back. Wasn't a huge fan of him being Rey's grandfather, but I could have forgiven it. But this movie just felt too packed. Now, the one thing I will give it is I do think it kind of felt like an old school Star Wars adventure. So I really enjoyed a lot of this movie, but it just felt like it was just trying to, wrap everything up in a neat bow when it probably needed 2 movies to do so. So Rise of Skywalker is number 6. Coming in at number 5 is going to be The Force Awakens. This movie, when I first saw it, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I said what everyone else said. It just copied A New Hope, right? And yeah, it kind of did, but it did it in a good way. Like I said, this franchise needed to get back on its track. It needed, a Star Wars adventure, and that's what this was. Does it copy a lot of beats of A New Hope? Yes, it does, but it does it quite well, and it introduces Rey, who I think is a great character. I actually think she's better than Luke. I'm not a big Luke fan. I think he's kind of a crybaby, especially in A New Hope. But I think Rey's a good character. Kylo Ren being Vader's grandson is fucking cool. I thought his look was cool. I love when he has the mask on. Not a fan when he takes the mask off. I think he's just more intimidating with that mask on. But I think this movie was fun. And it had some interesting stuff with a stormtrooper, going rogue and, not wanting to be for the, whatever it's called, the New Empire, whatever it's called. So I thought it had a lot of interesting stuff. Couldn't put it any higher than this, but I do enjoy this movie more and more every time I rewatch it. All right, top 4. This is the best of the best for me. I love all of these movies. And number 4 is going to be Return of the Jedi. Look, this wrapped up the trilogy in a great way. I adore the scene in the throne room with Luke, Vader, and Palpatine. I think it's fucking just thrilling shit. The space battle isn't as good as the first one. The Ewoks suck. Lucas obviously had rights to merchandising, so he made these Ewoks, right? Smart. Doesn't help the movie, but it's smart. I don't like Han in this movie at all, really. He doesn't feel like Han Solo. He's getting jealous of Leia, when she's talking to Luke. I feel like someone else came out of that carbonite. The stuff at Jabba's palace, I thought was good shit. I thought it was a great, 25 minutes to start the movie. I thought it was great, even though they kind of neutered Boba Fett there. But I do think the Jabba stuff was interesting. He had Leia as a slave then, got to rescue Han, all kinds of shit. It was a cool adventure. And then Luke and Vader kind of talking about how they're father and son. Love that scene as well. This is a very good movie. It has more flaws than I would like. A lot of things that I don't like. Some creative decisions I don't like, which I mentioned. But it's still one of the best Star Wars films. And for me, it comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is going to be probably the Star Wars film that I anticipated the most growing up. And that is going to be Revenge of the Sith. We all wanted to see how Vader turned to the dark side. And as much as I talked about the love stuff with Padme and Anakin in Attack of the Clones, was it improved here? Yes. Barely. But so much other shit, good shit is going on here. The opening space battle is fantastic. It's probably what Lucas wanted to do in A New Hope. and Return of the Jedi, but now he had the technology to do it. Is it a little too CGE? Yes. But I really like that battle. I love seeing Palpatine's kind of corruption of Anakin and how he gets Anakin to turn. I don't completely buy it 100%, but it did enough of it where I believed Anakin would make the decision he made. Obi-Wan's battle with Grievous, it was all right. Grievous is okay, but really where this movie hits its stride for me is in the climax and the battle on Mustafar between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Just a great battle, great visuals, and just, some meme-worthy shit with some of the dialogue. And I say that in a good way, because it's fun. So Revenge of the Sith is number 3. Coming in at number 2 is going to be the one that started it all, 1977's Star Wars, or as it later became known as A New Hope. Look, like I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of Luke Skywalker, especially in this movie. I think he's a baby. I think it's weird the way he mourns Obi-Wan more than he mourns his aunt and uncle. I thought that was really fucking weird. But this introduces us to this world. It introduces us to lightsabers. It introduces us to Han Solo. And in a certain way, Harrison Ford, right? It introduces us to something like the Death Star. And it introduces us to the best villain ever put on film, and that's Darth fucking Vader. My God, his introduction is amazing. Never seen anything like it before. Very cool. Just, this whole world and, this biblical type stuff that Lucas created is fantastic. The guy might not be able to write dialogue, but my God, he can create a universe. So A New Hope is number 2. But my number 1 is most people's number 1, and that is The Empire Strikes Back. Look, this movie's fucking incredible. I love that the bad guys win. I love that the Empire comes in and just kicks their ass. Vader is just no holds barred. He is after Skywalker in this movie, and you see it from the moment he's on screen. You get the bounty hunters. You get Cloud City with Lando. You got Luke meeting Yoda. All the stuff on Hoth is cool because it's winter, and there's a lot of good visuals with that. But the big battle, again, at the end is what really does it for me. Luke gets his hand cut off. You get possibly the biggest twist in cinema history. No, I'm your father. I mean, my God, that's just chilling. I couldn't even imagine being in the theater when that moment happened and just seeing the jaws fucking drop and just hearing all the expressions in the theater. Empire Strikes Back, in my opinion, is the greatest Star Wars film ever made, and I don't think it'll ever be topped. So that is my list, guys. Thanks for watching. Tell me your list down below in the comments. I will see you guys next time.